Hello and welcome to the Built podcast. I am your host, Reese, and today I'm joined with none other than Franz Arevalo, aka the Natty Nurse. Franz, how are you?
I've been pretty good, thank you, brother.
What's been new in your life?
Um, I'd say still showing up. Nothing extraordinary. Still working as a nurse. 40 hours a week. Other than that, just staying consistent with training. Um, and of course, on top of that, been doing like online coaching as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, wow. So still doing full-time nursing work, and
hmm
you are actually the first guest of the Built podcast that is a pro athlete as an FMG pro. And I saw that recently you did your pro debut last year.
hmm
That was in Gold Coast, was it?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me, how did it go? As your first competition as a professional athlete? Tell me how it went.
Definitely, it was something else, man. Like in with first of all, I've only done two shows. When I did my first show, this would have been out in 2022. That was actually my first bodybuilding competition when it was used to be the WBFF Australia, and I was blessed enough to be able to obtain my first place on my category, and I was also able to secure my pro card. So moving forward, I've decided, okay, let's do a pro show, and I've definitely put on a lot of work. Um, I'm not gonna lie, it was definitely a tough lineup. Um, some of the things that there's a lot of things that I could have done better, but majority of it was purely I had a lot of stress involved during, I'd say, like leading towards the show, and I guess that was something that I may have said I could have done a lot better. If it wasn't related to stress, I probably would have made it maybe in a different placing.
Yeah,
But
I know what you
other
mean.
than that, I'm still, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how when it comes to bodybuilding, you can be training, obviously the way that you all have always trained. You can be
hmm
dieting and eating everything that you need to be eating. But if you just have external stresses and things that are obviously out of your control happening in your life, it can really derail the progress that you could potentially be making just because of how much internal thoughts and stresses are actually being really placed on your body. How do
Correct.
you handle, stress when or even other external pressures?
Well, leading towards the show, I actually thought I was doing really well. Like I'm pretty sure, like I was 4 weeks out and I was super conditioned. I had striated glutes, and apparently that's a good indication that you've definitely nailed your
Conditioning.
prep. Yeah, the conditioning. That's it. And but like considering that, like, coming from Auckland, had to travel all the way to the Gold Coast and trying to settle my body and doing all the groceries and everything. You would imagine it. I remember when you did your pro show as well. I mean, your your show here in
Yeah,
Auckland.
how
You know
we
how
first
how
met.
stressful.
Yes.
That's it, bro. Like it's very stressful. Like, not being able to get your meals on time and everything, and just allowing your like not being able to worry about the things that you shouldn't be worrying.
Yeah.
But then I never thought that stress would hit me that bad that week. um One of the reasons why is my family was also coming to see me, and I guess the fact that, like, they've been very supportive throughout this whole prep with me, and it gives me a sense of, like, i need to I need to perform in a way that it will be acceptable. That feeling of, like, that sense of pressure that you feel, like, oh, like, families are around. I was also staying with my auntie, so it was another thing that I also learned is I guess it's different when there's no family involved, because when there's family involved, they don't understand what you're going through during peak week. Like they would offer you food. They don't understand the standards of bodybuilding and everything, and especially coming from a Filipino culture. It's hard to say no with foods. And I remember that time when I'd say I was my second day of peak week. I even compromised of eating out.
Wow.
Not
Yeah, just because that's
that's how
the
bad it
yeah
was.
the culture within the Asian um, background is definitely
Yeah,
food is very important.
and
Yeah,
yeah, and I realized, like I was really on top with all my prepping. I've never cheated on my, like, previously, like a few weeks before that. But then I started like getting really frustrated about myself. Like, why am I falling into this when I'm only freaking 3 days away from my show?
yeah, come
And
so
it was
far.
just constantly, yeah, and it was just constantly on my mind, like how bad it was. And even though it didn't hurt me that bad, but then I started getting more like worried about like my physique.
Yeah,
Yeah, and other than that, like, um just the pressure to perform and be able to just show your best package,
of course,
considering there's family involved. For me, because when it comes to bodybuilding, I've never been driven with fame or status. Regardless of whatever, I'm still grateful that I had that opportunity to compete and
represent New Zealand.
that's it, represent New Zealand, do my first pro show. And but just that idea that, like, I'm doing this for something far more just status, or far more than just personal advancement and reputation. I was doing it because I was more driven with, I just want my family to be proud of me.
Of course,
And I guess not a lot of people would be able to understand that urgency that I felt, but it was something special for me.
definitely,
That's it.
definitely. And how did you place? How did you go?
Thank God I still came top three out of top five
Yeah,
out of 5 or 6. Yeah. Um, and I was surprised because when I won my pro show on my previous, when I did my first show, I was a fitness model.
yeah,
But this time I won in a different category, which is the physique model, slightly bigger than my previous one. So I could safely say that I've improved somehow. Yeah.
yeah. And I think when it is something about doing a competition, a lot of people get caught up in the sense of building up those expectations, thinking if I don't come first, then this has been a waste. But really, the way that I like to think about it is that bodybuilding is a never-ending journey. And when you are doing a competition, it's not, if you want to be able to be in it and for the long haul, the way that I
Hmm.
always tell myself and also people that ask about whether they should do a bodybuilding competition is you should compete because you love to train. You should not train because you want to compete. It's not something that you should be wanting to gain some sort of validation, or the reason why I should be training is because I should do a competition, but it's because that you're
Yeah.
just wanting to become better than who you were last time you were on stage.
Hmm.
And regardless of whether, you obviously placed first in your first ever competition, which is amazing. You know what I mean? Not a lot of people can say that they do that, which is an
Hmm.
achievement in itself. And then now coming into your first professional show, with the WBFF, now known as FMG, right? Is still a very, very amazing accomplishment. But for you to be able to know that you came in a better package and also go through all those stresses, it's all just lessons learned. So then next time when you do another competition, if you are going to be doing another one, you have learned from all your other previous experiences of how you perform under pressure, how you perform under stress, how to be able
Hmm.
to mitigate expected pressures and expected stresses coming, like you're traveling to a different country, right? Which we'll get into a little bit later, and know that you improved physically as well. It's like a multifaceted sort of thing. Bodybuilding is a never-ending journey, which is great.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's
So, how long have you been training now in the gym?
um I'd say I've been consistent training for 12 years now. Um, yeah, so I've done 12 years of training, not only, but I've been serious with bodybuilding when it comes to like competition for 2 years. Um, but yeah, apart from that, I could safely say that I've been consistent with training. I've never had any problems when it comes to um, like with finding motivation, that because it always comes back to understanding why I'm doing what I love to do.
Exactly.
And that's something that I've been super proud of myself, because a lot of people will always ask me like, oh, what keeps you going, what motivates you to stay on this game for a very long time. And it really just comes back to how bad you wanted to achieve in life. And if you're still thinking it in a in a context of just bodybuilding itself, then you're missing out of the whole bigger picture. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, like we in the context of bodybuilding, but in terms of like sustainability, not everyone can handle, or not everyone can even sustain for a very long time with this game. Because like previously what we've discussed about, because of there's a lot of like it comes with a cost, it comes with so much sacrifices, financially, like with the amount of time you spend with your family and everything. But when you truly know your why, it will just naturally just flow. Understanding what's truly valuable to you will always be the main indication that allows you to stay committed on these sports.
Yeah, 100%.
Hey guys, just quickly, I hope you are enjoying the podcast. It would mean a lot to me if you could make sure to like, follow, subscribe on both Spotify and YouTube, or wherever you're viewing this podcast currently. It really does mean a lot, and it will help to grow the podcast so I can bring out more content, more podcasts, and invite more guests like you are listening to right now.
If you're struggling to be able to stay consistent with something, let's say, for example, when it comes to if someone wants to, if someone comes to you as an online client, right, and they're like, I want to lose 10 kilos, I want to lose 20
Mm-hmm.
kilos, I want to stop being fat, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's harder to be able to, because what do you need to do to lose fat? Obviously, you eat less food over time and you be more active and train in the gym. Go to
Mm-hmm.
the gym a couple of times during the week, right?
Correct.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's not rocket science. It's not something that is different for male or female, beginner or advanced. It's like that is what it is. So if it's not rocket science, obviously it's easy to understand, but it is hard to implement and to be able to stay adherent to. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have your why in place, it makes
Mm-hmm.
things so much harder. Being able to understand the importance of why we do things and why it is actually important to us to achieve, whether it is
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that's going to improve our health, is going to improve our life expectancy, or as well give us the self satisfaction knowing that you are becoming a better person every single day, right?
I like
Yeah,
that. Yeah, that never-ending improvement.
yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
So, what made you actually start going to the gym and actually wanting to train?
It's actually a funny experience of mine, because I remember when I started lifting weights. It all started. So I used to work at a supermarket, right? And I remember when I applied for this job, they asked me, "Do you want to be on the checkouts, checkout operator, or do you want to be in the trolley department?" And I've always been very, um, I'd say, what's the right word for that? Like I've always wanting to challenge myself, right? And I remember it was that time where I thought like, well, if I'd be doing checkouts, I would literally just be sitting down there doing nothing, right? Maybe like intellectually, I'd be operating, but I'm not moving. At that time, I didn't even think about like gym or anything, but I just thought that idea of like moving and constantly like utilizing your body and like your strength to push trolley is the best way for you to be able to keep yourself active, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it all started like that, just a simple act of like, yeah, I just want to get fit, man. Like I just want to be able to do something about it. I never thought about going to the gym. I never thought about about, thinking about aesthetics and how is this going to improve me, but that idea of just movement enables me to see that there's something that you can actually do, like based on what you can control, that can actually maximize your potential as a person. So I remember when I started, so I told my boss like, yo, I would rather just do the trolley. And I remember like people would actually make fun of me. Like I remember when I would be pushing a trolley in the rain, and people would be driving and say, get a real job and this and that. But then it didn't really bother me at all. It's like a job is a job, man. Like
Mm.
we're all, I remember we're immigrants here in New Zealand, like coming from a third world country, Philippines. Like for us, like hard work and money was something important for us to survive, because we didn't have that opportunity back home. And at that time I was like, man, it doesn't phase me at all doing like this job. I knew what I want. I knew that like it may not look better to other people. Like who does that, like freaking pushing trolley in the rain? Like it's probably the worst job you could possibly think, but I know that it's igniting something more than this inside of me. And that was something that was the start of this desire just to improve. Like I remember I would stack up so much trolley, and people would like, whoa, look at this guy's freaking pushing like 10 to 15 trolley in one setting, because we would tie it up on a rope, like this trolley. And you may not be pushing the entire trolley, but it's just how you maneuver the trolley that it makes you look like you're actually freaking strong. But it's just that idea that like I wanted to get stronger, I wanted to get more fitter. And that if I can do it in a way that I'm still gaining cash, then why not?
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, so it all started with just that simple funny idea of like, yo, I can push more trolley, I can get more fitter, and I could actually show to people that I'm capable of doing this job. And then that's how I was like thinking, like, why not go to the gym? Why not like actually improve in a way that like it will benefit you in the long run? And then that's how it started. Like I started going to the gym. um but I remember on my first day at the gym, I spent 4 hours because I didn't know a single thing. I didn't know there was such thing as overtraining. And then I saw this guy freaking shaking on like, I thought it was a milk powder. Then so what I did, I googled it, like what does milk do to your body? You know? So I never thought there was such thing as protein powder. I never thought I was freaking fresh.
Yeah.
I never knew any
What
of this.
what year was this?
This would have been 12 years ago.
Okay.
So I'd say
It's like
around
2010,
20.
2012.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's it. Around that
Yeah.
time. So, I remember at that time I was bumming. I was, I was literally, like I think I was 19 years old at that time, and I didn't know what to do in my life. I've never considered going to university, so I was like, okay, might as well just. I remember I was working two jobs that time too. I was working in the farm with my dad
Yep.
in the grape grape farm, and then at the same time I would push shoulders in the afternoon. So like what you said, we've had a chat earlier in this podcast, that like you can feel now the energy that we had when we were young
Mm.
compared to now, because we as you get older you realize like, damn, like, it's actually so much taxes, and
Oh, it is.
it's like
Yeah.
it's taxing on our body. So sometimes I think about it, it's like, damn, how did I survive doing that, like 10 hours in a grape winery, and I would push trolley in the rain during the night. But then I realized it, like it may look like it was a lot for me to handle physically during that time, but then it ignites something so important for me, and I guess that's where I would say that was the beginning of that desire to just constantly improve physically.
Yeah. It's definitely actually that's a very unique transition into the gym. Usually when I ask people, oh, what made you get into the gym? And usually it's because some girl broke my heart. And which is great, you know what I mean? When people have a very, very like maybe a traumatic experience happen, whether it's
Mm,
because of a relationship falling out or because they were bullied in high school, um, it sparks something strong within us to be able to improve and be a better person and to not feel that pain that
that's
we
right.
have felt previously. But
That's
because
right. Yeah.
you started being a trolley boy, that's I've never heard anything like that before. Um, So when you first started going to the gym, you trained for, 4 hours. What do you think was one of the biggest mistakes you made when you were first starting off with the gym?
I guess one of the I actually thought like lifting heavier would give you better return.
Yeah.
And I thought like I remember I told the when I signed up to the gym, I told them I'm just gonna be for 3 months. Could never thought that you would need to maintain going to the gym for. I never like what I said, bro. I never had any of this information before.
That was like when I
It's like
first
okay,
started kindergarten. I thought it was like, oh, okay, you only have to go for like a week and then we're done with school forever. And it's like, nope, you're stuck with this for the rest of your childhood.
yeah, it's crazy how it is a life changing decision. We were literally I was literally one choice away from a complete different life. Now I'm grateful with that simple act of just okay saying yes to something that it was unknown for me, but being able to just having that desire to just learn and adapt with the lifestyle, and as long as you're committed to grow, you'll always see something expanding in your life.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that I would say I should have done better when I started lifting weights was I was never on a plan. I was going on a yo-yo diet. I was just literally following what everyone else is doing. The biggest thing that I remember back in the days, Z's was a big thing.
Still is a big thing.
This is still a
I
big
think
thing.
he's
Like mad
actually
respect.
bigger
But
than when he actually was alive.
yeah, oh, straight up, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
But
remember like
definitely
I was
like
so
around
into.
2012, because 2012 was actually kind of the year, was it 2012? 20 like 2011, 2012. That's actually when I first started training as well. And that's when
Right.
Ziz was at its peak because unfortunately he passed away at that time.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, continue.
Yeah,
Ziz was a huge thing.
definitely Z's was inspiring. Like I remember I would listen to all his like his songs and like
Yeah.
all the stereosonic songs I would
Oh,
download
bro, I
them.
still listen to them.
Yeah, I would download them just to hype me up at the gym. And I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those guys where I was really driven with his mindset. But then I realized over the time there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of
Mm.
things that um was wrong. But then if you had not gone through those mistakes, then you wouldn't learn. Like what I
Or
said,
like where
you
you
wouldn't
are
learn as a
today.
person. That's it. So I'm grateful. Like those missteps also made me realize, and like made you who you are, made me who I am today. So going back to the things that I could have done better. Not going on a plan. I feel like I could have improved so much better. I tell you what, I've only been coach for the last 2 years. Out of 12 years of training, I've only been coached properly for 2 years. I still have my own coach, and if there's one thing that I should have done better, I wish I've started earlier on a proper plan.
Yeah, exactly right. It's crazy, like for you. So you've been training for 12 years, yet the best results that you have seen have been only in the last 2 years, becoming a professional
Hmm.
bodybuilder, competing as a professional bodybuilder internationally as well, you know, and because a lot of people, they see a lot of online coaches, they see a lot of personal trainers, and the the fear of, oh no, they just want to take my money, when actually you're actually investing into yourself. And obviously,
That's it.
I'm a coach, you're a coach. This is not us being able to advertise what we do for work, but it's like,
Mm,
even if you don't even choose us as your coach, just at least have someone who has the experience and has the knowledge to be able to give you the guidance that you need to be able to make sure you don't make those mistakes. Because
correct.
yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. Sorry to cut you off. But
No,
especially,
so
especially as you said, we look up to people like Ziz. So if Ziz for us was the one of the highest, it was like Ziz and I don't know if you ever listened to or saw Greg Plitt.
yeah.
He was like, those two guys were like, wow, they were like my two biggest inspirations when I first started training. And we it was a much simpler time back then. There was no Instagram, there was no social media, there was no TikTok, and there was only so many like YouTube videos. And even for us, when we saw videos of like Ziz training, we look up to
Mm-hmm.
that, you know? And I don't know if you remember, but there was a video of him doing like 50-kilo shoulder press, right? And
I think I remember that.
and
Yeah.
because one of the biggest mistakes I made when I was starting off at the gym was I thought you have to lift heavy in order to
Mm-hmm.
see results. And when we see
That's right.
that, when we see the people that we look up to, and they have the physique and the physical
Shape.
products that
Yep.
we want, it's like, okay, we need to be doing what they're doing in order to get that product. So it's definitely, now we live in a day and age where I always say it, there's actually too much content out there now. There's too many people trying to be the next Ziz and be able to post up all these impressive things, which is just a small snapshot of who they are as a person. And it's a lot of people are still making those same mistakes we made, 10 plus years ago today.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's why I love to be able to bring out this platform and this podcast so that people that are either just starting out of the gym, maybe they've been training for a while, they're actually now listening to people that have been training for 10 plus years, and for them to be able to understand that they are making a lot of the same mistakes we did when we first started training.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree with that. We live in a world these days where there's a lot more informations out there. I remember back, like what you said, we didn't have much more um, knowledge and informations out there back then. We didn't have social media. We didn't. I mean, social media was there, but the presence of social media is just out there. Like
Oh,
the amount of
yeah.
information you gain from TikTok from is a lot, right?
It's exponentially expanded. Yeah.
That's the right word. Yeah.
It's not even just like one or two times. It's just taken a massive boom, and it definitely has its pros and cons. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess leading into one of the next questions and topics that I wanted to get into is, you know, for a lot of people, even myself included, I'm not gonna lie,
Mm-hmm.
when we see something, we want it now. We don't have the patience sometimes to be able to put in the work and to be able to have that delayed gratification. And especially when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to building a physique, it takes time. Like I said, it's not rocket
Correct.
science. It's not something that is overly complicated or has changed over the years. It's,
Mm-hmm.
well, to build muscle, it's eat more food, train, progressive overload, rest and recover, repeat.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally it. That's the formula of gains right there. Um,
I
but
could not agree
but
more.
then now with social media, and one of the pros is obviously being able for people to share their stories like we're doing right now. But unfortunately, the
Mm-hmm.
cons is the the topic of performance enhancers
Mm-hmm.
is definitely a lot more prevalent, and a lot of more people are being more open about their uses of performance enhancers. And for a lot of young people, they just want that end product now, and they think that if I take these steroids, I'm going to get there real quick, when really that's not the case. So the natty nurse, I'm talking to the natty nurse. what what made you choose to be a natural competitor? And
Mm-hmm.
from what I see from your social media, you will continue to be a lifetime natural.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to clarify that I'm not against the use of steroids. Okay, I respect people's choices of the use of performance enhancement drugs. We're all given the same time and choice, and I personally think that it's more like personal preferences. And my choice of being a lifetime natural bodybuilder is more than impressing other people, but it's mainly driven with my own conviction and my faith. I value my body as a temple where the spirit of God lives, and it's free, it's a gift. This body is a gift, and in order for you to be able to protect and commit that you will look after your body, it's also a you're also you're also giving that in return as a gratitude to God himself, that he's the author of your life. So this principle reminds me of how important it is to just respect your body, not being able to use any harmful substances. And in addition, I also want to be able to show out there that I want to be a role model for people and show to them, but what's the possibility of what you can achieve of having a natural physique, especially in the fitness industry where there's not much really natural real role models these days, and the amount of people getting into the dark side is just getting way too popular. So I want to be different. I want to be able to show people that it is possible to achieve a natural physique, and it requires you to just stay committed in the process and just allow yourself to just stay committed in, and time reveals what needs to be seen eventually.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think are some of the limitations you feel of being a natural competitor? No, and when I say that as a natural competitor, someone that is a natural competing in untested federation.
Yeah, I think as a natural competitor, like it it does take us time to be able to build muscle density and maturity. Maybe I don't know much about enhanced athletes, but like someone doing could be training for the same period of time with me, and I'd say in a 12 months period, but they'd still be getting a better results compared to someone who's natural. And maintaining a level of conditioning is a big thing there too, and especially if you're a competitor, I guess. For us natural lifters, it does we it's hard for us to be able to maintain a better conditioning compared to someone who's on enhanced drugs. um when it comes to improvement phase, like for right now, of course, everyone's trying to build as much density during the bulk season. The ability to consume large amount of calories without compromising your composition is also something that we struggle for natural lifters.
Wow, so
Like I right,
you find it hard to be able to actually eat a larger amount of calories?
um yeah, like for me it's like making sure that you're not also blowing out too much. Like I heard that like a lot of enhanced athletes could easily consume like over 5K calories. Right now I'm only consuming within 3,000 calories, and I'm struggling to keep up with my appetite, right? And not being able to blow out too much. Like right now my midsections are starting to develop, a bit of adipose tissue around the
A
area.
little bit of fluff.
And yeah, that's it. Like it's regardless of how whatever, we're just prone of that insulin resistance. And I guess that's part of us natural lifters, that our body's just not used to be able to consume as much calories compared to someone who can easily just burn it up when you're enhanced.
Yeah. It's definitely really common I see, though you say that it's harder for natural competitors to obviously get the conditioning because I mean, for yourself, you still place top three in an Australian pro
Hmm.
show.
Hmm.
But even sometimes when you look at untested federations, like the competitors that is, and
Hmm.
tested federations, I would actually say that the natural competitors come in the higher percentage of competitors at a more leaner, more shredded composition than enhanced people because I feel as if sometimes when people are enhanced, they have that mindset of, oh yeah, I can obviously just use maybe a few other compounds or things like my arsenal to be able to not diet as hard and get to my destination a lot easier. Put my health at risk a little bit more,
Hmm.
and I can still eat a little bit more. You know what I mean? Whereas because, and this is what I respect a lot about natural competitors, is that because you don't have those things in your arsenal, you have to rely on true mental fortitude to get you to the destination. You're going to be built your character development a lot more and going to be able to stay in the game a lot more because you understand the hurdles and the adversities of what it takes to actually get to the conditioning required to be a competitive bodybuilder.
That's true. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100. I agree with that.
So now, being someone that obviously placed first in their first bodybuilding show, it's you are a living example of it is not impossible to be competitive against people that are on enhancements, which is amazing. That's really really
Yeah.
good to be able to see, and also to be a top professional athlete in an untested federation. What do you think separates you from your competition? What part of your personality or who you are as an athlete separates you from the people that you are up on stage against?
Yeah, I think there's nothing really separates me from other competitors. I mean, every bodybuilder, like as you know, we all follow the same principle: consistency, adherence to meal plan, build performance, adding more volume in your workout, you name it. I don't really think there's a special routine or diet or any supplement out there that will elevate or separate you from anyone else. But what I know that made me different amongst other competitors out there is I know exactly my why. And I keep reminding about myself about this because sometimes I could easily just fall into that mentality there, like where I'm here because I wanted to show people that I'm this. Because I don't like to have that mentality to where I'm trying to rub in people's faces, hey, I'm natural. Like it's not me. Like some people think like I'm against people who are on paids, and I just want to show people that like I'm better than everybody else. I'm healthier than that. It's nothing to do with that, but it's just really about what I truly value as a person with my faith and understanding that what I've gone through in my life and with my family, that's the main thing that I was fully driven with bodybuilding because when I'm training, when and this is what I want to be able to answer and navigate you this question is when I'm training, sometimes I don't even think about like lifting. I don't even think about like how I'm going to look on stage or anything, but I'm just addressing all those issues that I'm frustrated in life that even my family never experience, and just be able to be like your own hero sometimes. I don't know if you felt that sometimes
Oh yeah.
where like it's like when you zone in and just and it's only you and there's no one else is going to be able to to save your own maybe generation. And I mean it may be, I don't know if it may be too much for you to be able to understand this, but I truly believe that each individuals have their own battles, right? I have my own frustrations. I have things that I've seen in my family's generation that I wish could have been prevented, but based on personal choices and wrong choices, then there's also consequences. And it also that gives me an understanding like it's the ball the ball is in me right now, whether I'm going to choose a life where it's living the same pattern as my family, or am I going to be the game changer? And that's my mindset. Like right now I'm in the best position where I'm using bodybuilding as a strategy and a momentum on how I can just be improved and just show that like I have what it takes to break generational curse in my own family. Because I've seen it. I've seen the choices of my family. I've seen like dreams that are lost, the like opportunities that are missed, frustrations, battles that have not been won. And I just want to be able to be that person where like it's my choice, it's my time. I want to show to these people that it's never been driven with fame or status, but it's really driven about your story. You just want to change the trajectory of your life.
Yeah. And that's really just comes down to understanding your why. And
That's it.
when we see our parents, when we see the people around us, as we get older, we can really start to develop that obviously mature mindset and say, wow, our parents aren't perfect, right?
That's it. Yeah.
and they've made the mistakes in their lives, and we can see what they've chosen to do and how they address their problems in their life, or even if they don't do address them, like you said. So
Mm,
really understanding your mind, being able to also really utilize training as a way of an outlet of being able to control such a very, very limited thing that we can control in our life through training.
mm.
You know, we can't control how people are, we can't control how our family responds to things and reacts to things, but we can control obviously what we do physically, how we react to things as well. And I think that's why bodybuilding is so great as well, because it allows us to be able to harness, you know, these feelings in ourselves, and to be able to
Correct.
then give us a reason and something that is an outlet as well throughout the day, which is great. That's really good.
I like that. I think I just want to add that something people don't realize that it's more than just lifting weights. It's more than just looking in the mirror, looking good and everything. But a lot of times we battle with wrong habits, right? We battle with focus. We battle with staying disciplined, committed. But bodybuilding or getting involved with fitness is actually the best way to practice all these great habits: focus, discipline, consistency. This is all the best traits of a bodybuilder. Like you and I, how important, how committed we are with his lifestyle. Like we become robotic with our daily routine. We love a structured routine, right? And it may be unhealthy, but even the momentum enables us to stay committed with other aspects of our lives. And that's what I love about bodybuilding, because you're constantly just driven. I don't want to be just sitting down there and just eating a bag of Doritos every day. Like even if it means that I'm struggling at the gym, but at least I'm trying. You know,
Yeah,
that mentality that, like, yep, like I look like my lifestyle is boring. I look like it's repetitive, but it's improving my mindset. I can, like, there's so many ways that you can progress, and people will only think about that, like, oh, progression is only what you see in the mirror and everything. But what if progression is just having clarity in your mind? What if progression is just having better sleep? You know what I mean? Like, these are the things that people don't see as progression, but are also essential, or also the benefits of what you gain from just committing on something like a fitness goal, right?
most definitely. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but um, there is a quote that I can't remember who stated it, but it was, "Routine is not a chore. However, routine provides us the best sense of freedom that anything can provide." And the only way that you can really seek progress is having a routine, having a set schedule, following a plan, and repeating the same processes over and over again, until you get better and better at it. And
Mm,
again, bodybuilding is great because it teaches you about delayed gratification, that things take time, and that in order to see progress, it's not linear. There's going to be a lot of
mm,
times where you're going to be doubting yourself, and it just takes time. It's a time game.
that's it. Correct.
Yeah. So as a nurse, right? So how long
Mm,
have you been? Are you a registered nurse? Yeah.
correct. So I've been working as a registered nurse now for over 7 years now.
And what made you want to become a nurse?
I get this question a lot, eh?
Because you are
And
the natty nurse.
correct. Yeah, yeah, I like that. It's a reminder that sometimes I don't even know what I do, because oftentimes we we gain confidence with what I do, but what we do as a person. But I also realize this is just something that, like, I want to be able to address things, because it speaks about identity, right?
Hmm.
You know, people always love to promote what they do. It's like when you meet someone, like if you haven't met this person and you just introduce yourself, the first thing that people would always ask is like, so what do you do for a living, right? Because if that question comes up, they would also categorize you whether they're gonna give you the high respect or they also just treat you as something regular, right? And I actually hate that I actually don't like to be able to boast of what I do as a person, because I also learned that where your confidence comes from also determines when it runs out. If I tell you like, oh, I'm the Natty nurse, I'm a registered nurse, I'm a natural bodybuilder, this and that, then it may look like, wow, like this person really really speaks highly about what he does as a and what his identity is, because we live in a world where everyone's driven with identity, like, they want importance, right? It's like if you're the doctor, if you're a lawyer, then you get special treatment, or if you're like a Instagram famous, then you get the VIP treatment. That's how we live in the world, unfortunately, right? But then having that understanding that where your confidence comes from also determines when it runs out. That means that if I lose my job, I lose my confidence. If I get sick, I lose my confidence, right? So I would rather put my confidence on something that is unshakable, that lasts a lifetime, and that is true and never fails to his promises, and that goes back to my faith. And I know that, like, this is something outside the topic that we've discussed, but I just want to be able to address that even what I do as a person, yes, I am a registered nurse. I've been doing this for a long time, and some of the reasons why, going back to that question, some of the reasons why I do what I do, because I love people, man. At the end of the day, relationship with people is so important, because I personally believe that that Christ died for relationship. He didn't die for religion or anything. He died for a relationship, and that's something I value as a person.
Yeah.
And going back to being in a position of influence of health as a registered nurse, I like it because, and that this is the pathway way I chose to be, because I wanted to be in that position where I can empower people in even in their very darkest moment. We live in a world where everyone is seeking for hope. Everyone is desperate for answers every day. Like, and like, we're you and I are very blessed that we have the resources. We have this ability to be on such a luxury sports of bodybuilding, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Like, man, if you look, like, if you go back to my country, I remember when back home, no one knows what's gym even,
Yeah.
because the the main priority there was survival. They need
Getting
to earn money to be able
going
to
day
eat
by day.
food,
Yeah.
right? That's it. And we live in like, for us, like, the first concern as soon as we wake up as bodybuilders is we want to make sure we get our fat burners, our our pre our first
Protein.
meal of the day,
Yeah.
our protein. That's part of my routine. I love my routine too, man. Like, I get my cardio down, I take my thermogenics first thing in the morning. But then we realize, like, that's something I like to remind myself every day, that we're freaking blessed, man.
Very.
We're super blessed to be able to do these things. And it's just a matter of just, like, you and I right now in this best position of really reminding people out there that it's not what we do here that we're trying to show that, like, how good we are or anything, but we all come we all just come from we all have our own, like, we will all struggle at some point in our life too, and we just trying to we're not trying to 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 level to other people, or show people that we're better than other people or anything. We just want to show people that, like, that everyone can achieve something if you have the audacity to just believe and constantly just put on the effort every day.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you were starting. I want to be able to also hear some of your life experiences as a coach and as a competitor, but surely deep down there you all have your experiences too that really drives you to what you do right now, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the biggest highlights, quite recently, I have a new client that has started with me, and he's actually been going to my gym for since I actually have ever started as a PT at my gym. So he's been there for over 2 years, and you would not, you would never expect it when you look at him from afar. You would just think of him as someone that is, overweight, and
Mm.
but when you actually get closer to him and you actually speak to him, he's actually a survivor of a stroke
Wow.
and actually went completely blind when he had his stroke. And he started at his heaviest at 190 kilos, and
Hmm.
then he got down to, he told me, 107 kilos over since
Mm.
since he had his stroke and when he went through rehab. And he started with me in the last couple of weeks because he's falling into his old habits, and he gained another 20 kilos. But for him, he wanted to be able to have someone in his life that he, well, wants to look like, which is very, very humbling for me. And
Hmm.
but more importantly, he saw me as who I am as a person and what I do, and our conversations that we've had the past 2 years. And he just knew that he wanted to be around someone that was so positive, and that really
I like it.
reminded me, you know, that I just freaking love helping people. I love being able to use my experiences, not just as a bodybuilder, not as just even a personal trainer, but someone as another human being that has my demons and my battles that I struggle with, as you mentioned previously, and how I've
That's
and
it.
how I've utilized and used fitness and going to the gym as a way to be able to combat the adversities of my life, and ultimately helping other people is and servicing society is a very, very underrated and admirable profession. Whether it is you're
That's
a
true.
nurse, whether you are a doctor, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what title you have. It is your confidence in why you're doing it.
That's it.
Yeah,
I like that, man.
definitely.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's so true.
So, how did you find balancing being a nurse as well as going through a competition prep?
I guess when you truly love what you do, it's not a question about whether it's going to be a burden in your life or it's going to be a hassle training or not, because it really just comes back to priorities. Like we all given the same time and choice every day. You could have 100 reasons why you should not be doing it, and I could tell you too my own reasons why I shouldn't be going to the gym, because I have plenty of things I need to focus on rather than just freaking lifting weights. People, like that. You get a lot of people like I mean, mind you, I get a lot of people asking me like, "Is that what you do all the time? Like just lifting weights?" But they don't. It's ridiculous, right? Because it sounds like you're a very selfish person when people look at you like, oh, you're just the alpha male where you just think you're all that, you just want to get jacked and so you can show off your abs and everything. You get this misconception, and I get it, mind you, bro. Like especially living in a I was brought up in a Christian home, and thought I'd quickly share this to you. I remember the few years of my life when I started lifting weights, especially in a very um strict. Um, I was brought up in a very strict home. I've always been surrounded with church religious people, and they've always think of you as, oh man, like you just want to go to the gym because you just want to get girls, right? And like people will have that understanding, but then deep down, you knew what you came for. You knew already, like God. I already was so fully confident the vision that God has given me. And although, yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, like I have my moments to where like I just want to get abs because I just want to impress girls. Still, I'm not gonna lie. When during my younger years of training, like I had a wrong intentions of training. and it was purely just want to get girls, just want to go to like festivals and take off my shirt.
Yeah.
You already know that stereophonic vibe, and just want to look like Z's, right? But over over the time, you start realizing there's more to this, and the benefits that you gain out of just training and staying consistent and focusing on just improving as a person, um, and may, like what you said, like delayed gratification. You may not see it now, but the positive things that you gain out of it over the time is just is just something that you wouldn't um like you wouldn't wanna question, because it was enough for you to be able to say that, like, yeah, like it was, I was fully convinced of the choices that I make was enough, right? And yes, it's going back to it, gaining balance of the routine as a bodybuilder. You already know the extreme lifestyle of a bodybuilder, and I myself can testify it, as mentioned before, how unhealthy this sport. We make huge sacrifices from our time, from our relationship, even thus missing special occasions. I remember when I was on my best mate's wedding and I was 6 weeks out, I was freaking bringing my own food. Who does that, right? It's ridiculous, right?
Tupperware container.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and if you don't have the right motives on bodybuilding, chances are you will just go crazy with the routine, right? So instead of focusing on more on how to keep up with bodybuilding as a routine, I'd like to have a different approach and use bodybuilding routine as a way of just keeping up with the momentum. So, like, instead, like we've spoke earlier about keeping up with the routine, as a bodybuilder, but it really just comes back to what are the is it really just comes back to how is bodybuilding improving you as a person? Because if you haven't seen that those benefits, then chances are you'll never be convinced of staying committed on this lifestyle.
Exactly. How does, not even just bodybuilding, but how does anything in your life serve you?
That's it. I think we're all called to serve. That's a very powerful reminder that we're not here for status, but we're just here for service, right?
Exactly.
And people struggle to stay commit on something because they haven't seen the benefits of what they gain out of it. That's why it's hard for them to be able to commit on the process, because they would rather just see something so superficial rather than something that they gain something internal. Like for me, when I'm like, not just the bodybuilding routine, but just being fully committed and healthy eating, it just gives me a sense of control, where like I know that like I'm also I can also sort of predict a positive trajectory of my health. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Because I know that like majority of all these long term illness are just modifiable, but being able to commit on healthy eating, and that way gives me an understanding that like I'm low risk of cardiovascular health, right? So that the ability to stay consistent on a routine really just comes back to understanding and being able to 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 detect those positive things that you gain out of like your routine.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the things is that I don't like about other bodybuilders is it consumes them. It consumes their life. It's like it's the only thing that is important to them. It's the only thing that they can talk about, and it becomes obviously their identity, right? It's like
That's it. That's it.
without bodybuilding, who are they? And it's like if there was no social media, would they still be bodybuilding? Probably not. And
That's true, man.
for a lot of people, they use the excuse of bodybuilding of, oh no, I can't work extra hours. I'm in comp prep. Uh sorry, no, I'm not going to maybe go out and spend time with my family. I'm on a comp prep.
Mm,
It's I made that mistake with my first bodybuilding comp when I was 19. Um,
mm,
and over the years, I've realized that competition prep is something that you're deciding to do. You're choosing to do it. It is up to you how you let it impact the other areas of your life when it comes to
mm-hmm,
relationships, when it comes to your family, when it comes to work as well.
mm-hmm.
And one thing that I really love about bodybuilding and having that kind of mindset is that because you're so locked in into a routine,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to bed relatively at the same time. You're waking up before your alarm. You're jumping out of bed most days. Sometimes it's not like that.
That's
you're
right.
jumping out of bed and it's like you know what your morning routine is. You know what your morning tasks are, what they need to do. And I feel as if,
Mm-hmm.
when you have that momentum and you're just ticking boxes and you're ticking the daily tasks, it carries into that positive flow into other areas of your life for work and for other like personal endeavors,
That's
and
true.
it allows you to be able to actually be a very very productive person when you are actually having that mindset of, okay, no, competition prep is my choice, and how am
Mm-hmm.
I going to let this affect my life? Is it something that's going to subtract or is it going to add to my life?
That's
I
true.
want it to serve me. I'm not trying to serve bodybuilding. I'm not trying to do it to impress others.
That's true. That's so true. That's so powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it really comes back to having a different perspective out of it. And maybe and it's about thinking outside the box rather than just so focusing on what you can gain externally. It's like, oh, I just want to get striated glutes. I just want to make sure that I peak nicely. I mean, don't get me wrong, like those are the standards of bodybuilding. But I truly believe that you become successful with what you do when you think outside the box of bodybuilding.
yeah,
When you like what you say, when you utilize bodybuilding as a strategy just to be on top with other things in your life, you become more proactive with your time because we all know when you're on prep, like even though your body is fatigued, you're still ticking boxes, like your body is stimulated, but and your mind is giving up, but you get the work done, right?
exactly,
And for some reason I remember when I was on prep, I felt I was more proactive with my time. I become more creative with myself. I become more. It probably, I wouldn't say it's the best relationship I've had because I was constantly just like moody and the
Irritable.
vibe when you
Yeah,
irritable. Yeah, it's funny how you mentioned that because I remember when I met you during your peak week, and I was also of course, like I was also I first met you, and I didn't have much understanding about bodybuilding at the time, but I remember you mentioned to me like, hey man, like I don't mind doing anything, I would just, if we can just go to the arcade. And I was just like, why would this person want to go on arcade? Like, this guy's freaking going on this. It didn't make sense to me, and then now that like I'm going through the experience myself, I started realizing how important it is to manage stress,
exactly right.
right?
Exactly.
I was learning from you, man.
Yeah. Just so that everyone who's listening to this podcast knows. So Franz and I met through social media because obviously Franz lives in New Zealand. And when I did my last competition with the WBFF, I came second in muscle model, and I had no expectations. And I was so happy that I came second, but then also I was like, I was so close to winning my
Yeah.
pro card. Because actually, funnily enough, when I did my first WBFF competition, I did muscle model. I came fifth, and this is when WBFF was like there was like over 300 competitors in a show. Now
True. Yeah,
there's only really like maybe 100 to 150 competitors a show. So this is when
that's
WBFF
it.
was like really at its peak. And for me, when I
Mm.
came, I still placed top five, and I was 20 years old. Um,
Wow.
and the feedback I got was you were too small for muscle model. Had you done fitness model, you would have become a pro. I was just like, so with that in mind, and then doing another one 5 years later, and coming so close to winning, I was like, okay, well, there's actually one in New Zealand coming up in 2 weeks afterwards, and I was like, I'm doing it. I'm 100% doing it.
Yeah.
So I actually reached out to friends, and I was like, man, I'm actually coming to Auckland, and it
Yeah.
would be great to be able to meet, to link up, and I think, well, this is actually such a an underrated thing about bodybuilding as well is the amount of obviously relationships and friendships that you actually um, gain along the way. Because
That's so
I
true.
came over to New Zealand, and friends helped me with picking me up from my Airbnb and going to Countdown, and which is like the Woolies equivalent in New Zealand. And
That's true.
he was able to, yeah, really help me with navigating and helping me with taking away as much stresses as possible. And honestly, like, had
Hmm.
it not been for your help, it it played a massive role into me actually winning that show, because I didn't have
Mm.
a lot of those external stresses of um, worrying about getting my groceries and then going to the gym. Um, so yeah, that's a little bit of a fun story.
And I tell you what, brother, like I never really fully comprehend what you've gone through at that time because I didn't have much information about bodybuilding, and then I realized, wow, now that I've gone through it myself, I realized that no wonder there was some because I couldn't really understand what was on your mind at the time. Like you would just say things like, should we just go and like play bowling or like do arcade at that time, or yeah, it was just something off. And then now I started realizing, damn, that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense because, well, it was also like a combination of just, even though I'm choosing to be feeling like absolute death, I still
Yeah.
value that I'm meeting a genuine person for the first time, and I want to be able to connect with this person. And
Mm,
also, you still need to have fun in life.
I like that,
You
man.
still
I
need
like that. Yeah,
sometimes to learn how to be able to switch off and to be able to just do just fun stuff sometimes.
that's true. Yeah, that's a really powerful reminder. Yeah.
Because who knows, you may never get the chance to be able to do any of those things ever again. You can get very, very caught up in, obviously the grind and the routine and things and stuff like that, which is obviously very important. But sometimes it's just
Yeah.
one of my favorite things to do is honestly sometimes just to switch off and do something fun.
I like that, man. I like that's a very powerful reminder because like yeah, especially with bodybuilding and like we're constantly thriving and like we operate in a way that like we need to constantly do it all figured out. Like we need to be on top with everything. But sometimes like rest is just is even a power move.
Yeah,
Just doing nothing, just sitting down there and just embracing, that friendship that we've had or having a good yarn with someone. Because we, like sometimes it becomes less proactive for us because we operate in a way that we need to keep going. We need to make sure that we tick boxes, get our steps done, get our meals on time and everything. And then we forget the biggest blessing that we have is actually being present,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And that's a powerful reminder, brother. Thanks for
That's
that.
all good, bro. There was uh, a podcast with Alex. I don't know if you've heard of Alex Hormozy.
I might. I'm really bad with names, but
Well,
I could
you
probably.
may have seen him like on TikTok or Reels because he just pumps a lot of
Sure.
a lot of content. But
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of the things that he he says, because what he does, he actually helps with scaling people's businesses in terms of building gyms.
Yeah.
And what he's actually come across from a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs is at their 30s they wish that they have all the money in the world, but then once they're in their 50s they would give everything that they have earned to be back in their 30s.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it really makes you realize it's like when we are in our present, we really just focus too much on the things that we don't have, which is
Mm,
maybe money or successful businesses. Obviously, for a lot
True.
of people, materialistic things is a very important priority in their lives, whether it be a nice house or nice cars, nice clothes. But then
Mm-hmm.
when we focus too much energy and our thoughts onto the things that we don't have, and we spend all these time, maybe we spend too much time working towards getting these items and these the status and money.
That's it.
Maybe when you get to that point when you're in your 50s, your health has deteriorated. You didn't spend enough time with your friends and your maybe your parents. Maybe they don't unfortunately are able they're not unfortunately able to live to the point of when you're in your 50s. Or
That's true.
maybe you have a family and you don't spend as much time with your kids. It's like you can't get that time back.
That's
Sometimes
true.
it's just
Yeah.
like you just need to be in the present and be grateful for the things that we do have.
I like that, man.
Yeah,
I like that because I want, yeah. On top of that, it's really powerful self awareness to think about those things that it's not always about having it all because contentment isn't always about you know like you're constantly withdrawing from someone, like we live in a world where we're just constantly withdrawing, maybe withdrawing from like from other people, not specifically money, but we would just want to make sure that we're trying to fill up like that void in us the whole time. But what if it's already been given to you, like you just have to be content with what you have,
exactly. Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, and even for, I don't think this is really catered towards males, but more females. A lot of
Mm,
females, they start to maybe enter their 20s and they look back and they're like, oh, I wish I was as small and skinny as when I was a teenager.
mm,
And then when they enter their 30s, they're like, oh, I wish I was as had enough time of when I was in my 20s. And then when they're in their 40s, they're like, oh, I wish I was had my body before I had my kids in my 30s. And then
yeah,
before you even know it, you're in your 70s, 80s, and they're thinking, I wish I'm able to move as much as I was when I was in my 40s. So we
that's
always think about what we don't have too much, and then we get caught up in the things that we don't have. When really, yeah, well, there are things that you can put in place to be able to work to where you want to be,
hmm
but it's really, really important to be able to know what you do have that
I like that.
others would kill for.
That's so
Yeah,
true. Yeah. Now, definitely, um, I want to be able to share that with you as well because I guess one of the big things that people struggle these days is feeling insufficient. And maybe because there's a lot of factors involved, especially with the pressure in social media, and people are just doing so well. Like everyone looks like they're on holiday every day. Everyone looks like they're living their best life. And when we tend to compare ourselves to what we see in other people's highlighted reels, we feel like insecure, and we feel like we need to perform better in life. But then I realize it's a matter of just having a different definition of what's better, and it still goes back to you, what's valuable to you, because other people's definition of what's better is always linked back to what they prioritize in life. If they prioritize glamour, then they'll always focus more on the external factors and what you can see superficially, right? But what if doing better is just having peace in your heart? It may look like you're not doing better because it doesn't look like appealing to other people, but what if doing better is just having purpose, like right now, you right now you're fully confident with with your purpose and what God has given you as this skill of helping other people. But some people may not look at it as sufficient. because they have a better understanding of what's better. They maybe some people's better is just they want to travel the whole world. They want to just stack up money. And I guess the most important thing here is being fully confident with your own lane
Yeah.
and just staying committed in where you at. Like you don't need to be where you don't need to be doing what everybody else is doing. I'm confident with where I am. I'm embracing the growth that where God has called me, even though it doesn't look good, even though it may not be the hype or it may not be the best definition of what's better. But I'm confident that like as long as I'm fully committed with with where I'm at in my life and I'm fully committed to growing, then when it's my time to grow, there's nothing can stop me.
Nothing's gonna stop you.
That's
That's
it.
it.
That's it.
No.
Yeah.
Awesome, bro. Awesome. Okay. So we've now come to the end of the podcast. We've had such a great conversation. We might have to get you on for round two. Maybe
Oh, I love that, man.
after your next pro show. Maybe. What's next for you?
um, for this year, there's a lot of things that I wanted to focus more, and I haven't really thought about competing yet at this stage. But I'm still on prep. I'm still committing on my daily routines, which is like meal planning, showing up at the gym. I personally think it's nothing. I don't really believe that there's such thing as prep. Okay, that's just how I see it. Like you're still on prep regardless, whatever.
Yeah.
Like some people think it all starts with 20 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Like
You
the
know,
whole concept of like, yeah, comp prep and off season. Comp prep off season. When
that's it.
it's it's never ending battle. It's
100%.
it's a never ending game. There's
Yeah,
the quote unquote off season is just as important as comp prep because that's where the improvements are made. That's where
I
you're
like that.
getting the feedback from the judges or even the areas of improvement that you know that you need to be working on is made. It's not
That's right.
you're not, especially as a natural competitor, you're not really building muscle or you're not building muscle when you're in comp prep. It's
That's
just the
true.
refinement process. It's the off season, whereas where you're actually improving. So you're always, yeah, as you said, you're always somewhat in prep at all points of your life.
That's it. Yeah. So, um, yeah. So in terms of like my future plans of competing, I'm still going to commit in the process regardless of whether I'm going to be competing or not. I haven't made any plans at this stage, but if it's God's will for me to compete, I would like to do another one this November.
The Bali show.
There's one in Bali. Yeah, I thought about
Also,
that,
just the one in
but
Australia.
yeah, I feel like I need a redemption, brother.
Redemption. What were the areas
Yeah,
that they said that you needed to improve?
I was too frustrated to the point where I didn't even bother getting my
You didn't get the
my
feedback.
feedback.
Well, what do you think you need to be working on, physique wise?
Okay, that's a really powerful. That's a really good question. Now, like we've addressed the fact that I was fully stressed out. Okay, I didn't like the fact that I went on a back-to-back show because I remember when I jumped on my show, I was I knew that I was coming from a fitness model, but I was slightly heavier than my previous show, and that made me wanted to do two back-to-back categories, and that was quite taxing for me because they didn't have anything in between. Like I remember, like as soon as I completed my rounds on my fitness model, I've only had what 10 seconds, and it was the second category for us to jump on stage again.
Yeah,
So I was,
gassed.
like I was freaking gasping, bro. So I didn't like that. If I knew that I was fully I was if I knew what category I was, then I would have just focused on one category,
Yeah,
right? So now that I knew exactly where my body fits, which is in the physique model, which is right in between of the muscle model and the fitness model,
yeah,
then I can just purely just focus on just improving. I believe that at this stage I needed more size. So if I can improve in the next few months of just adding more size on my frame, I'll do whatever it takes to do that.
Perfect.
Um, yeah. So um, maybe one thing that I could have done better on my show was I was nervous, bro. For some reason, I didn't really I wasn't really myself that
Yeah.
time. Maybe the fact that like maybe the fact that I remember when I was in on the backstage and I was constantly going outside because I remember my mates was like from New Zealand. They're like, bro, we're here in the Star Casino, how can we enter in that? So it was a form of gratitude, like you've reached this far where you felt like people are there to support you, and the least that you could do was just to be there for them too. But then I realized the worst that was also my day.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that I should have just focused on, locked in on, and just take time to breathe. But I didn't have that time to do. I didn't have time to even just pump weights because I was too late to be on in line with the competitors
Yeah.
because I was too focused on making sure that everyone was okay. And then I realized, like, damn, I was stressed out. It was part of a
Yeah.
stress.
Well,
So
I mean that in
um,
itself, it's not a physical improvement that you need to make, but it's more of a mental improvement to make for next time.
that's it. Yeah, and then no, it was one thing that I didn't see it coming to. A lot of people think like, yo, like you tick all the boxes, making sure you pick nicely and everything, but the very little things are actually making a massive impact
Yeah,
on your show day, right?
definitely. Definitely. All right. Well, the last question I have is the common theme for all of my podcasts and all of my guests that I
Hmm.
have and plan on having. And it is, what would be the biggest piece of advice you would tell your early self when you were just starting your fitness journey?
I like that, man. Um, if there's any piece of advice I can give to someone who's starting the fitness journey,
Wouldn't be anyone, it would be you.
yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. So if I had to tell my younger self, like what I could have done better, or if I had to tell someone who's just learning and just starting on a fitness journey, I would say give yourself the time and energy and the grace needed to develop yourself. That's all I can say, because this sport is not about who's the fastest. This It's not about who's the strongest, but it's the one who will endure till the end.
Nice. I love that. And on that, thank you very much, Mr. Natty Nurse. Where can the people find you?
I'm more active on my social media, so you can follow me on Instagram, the Natty Nurse, and I'll follow back.
And
Okay.
your online coaching?
franzfitness.com. But yeah, if you're interested, definitely reach out to me. I always take time to answer. I mean, to respond to all my followers. And thank you. I want to say thank you to you as well, Reese. You've definitely been a great inspiration to me.
Thank you.
Mind you, bro, I still have all those photos we've had on your show day. I'll send it to you.
Yes,
And
please.
you've been a great,
Trip
yes,
down
yes,
memory lane.
you've been a great inspiration to me, man. Your your ability to stay committed in the sports, your knowledge, your wisdom, and even your audacity to 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 start something like a podcast like this. You don't know how much people needs to hear this, and I guess that's where purpose comes into play, where understanding that a lot of people out there needs to hear our testimony, our journey. And
Yes.
it's not about who's better, but it's about really just maximizing our potential every day. Like, we're all given the same time and choice 24/7, but your ability to make the right choices will really determine whether you're going to stuck on your old habits or whether you're going to move forward, become better and better each day. So thank you, brother. You're a great inspiration to me, and this is a very humbling experience. Thank you.
Thank you, friends. And I really appreciate those kind words, and it'll definitely stick with me as I progress through this journey. So
I like that. Thank you.
until then, and see you in the next.